And a good Monday evening to you, or a good Monday to you, wherever you're at, whatever time it is. Thank you for tuning in tonight. We have a very, very interesting subject. In fact, we have a couple subjects we're going to be discussing. And we have with us Dr. Carole Lieberman on her return trip back to the show. I'm telling you, we could bring this lady on uh, every month or so because she covers so many aspects of life, uh, and everything that she talks about is interesting and it's right to the point. She pulls no punches, folks. So whether you're down the street, around the corner, across America, or somewhere around this great big world, thank you for taking the time to tune in, and we appreciate each and every one of you. Come in, put up your comments, ask your questions. I know I won't have the answer, but I'm sure Dr. Carole Lieberman will. So, and we have, there he is, Ed Temple, America's favorite co-host, right there, front and center. Good evening, Ed.
Well, hey, George, you don't, I mean, I know you don't feel that way, and it troubled you to have to say that, but America has spoke.
Yes.
At least three of them did, I think. My wife, somebody that doesn't know me, and maybe someone, maybe grandma.
Ed, I throw the flowers on you all the time, and I tell people how much I appreciate and how much of a great favorite co-host you are.
That's because you don't have another one, George.
Yeah. I've got some sitting over here in the wings,
Yeah.
and I can call it an emergency. So,
Hey, I'm budget. I'm a budget co-host.
Charlie's right over there. He runs the board for me and stuff. So, uh,
He could do it.
yeah, he'd jump in there. But
Okay,
anyhow,
give him a mic.
welcome, Dr. Carole Lieberman,
Thank you so much. It's great to be back.
all the way out there in California, IA. And wow, it's after 8 o'clock here. It's after 5 o'clock there. We're just delighted that you could come back tonight and spend some time with us.
Thank you.
Let me ask you folks out there that's watching and listening a question. Have you ever thought in your wildest imagination that there would come a day that somebody would be working on a development to put a thingy in your head and hook you up to the cloud, to the computers, and all those things? Too far-fetched? I don't think so. Not anymore. Is it another science fiction adventure soon to take place? We're going to find out some of them answers tonight, and some of the ethics and all the other things that's involved in this. But here's what I'd like to do before we get into the discussion. We have about a 4-minute video, and this I don't know how it'll affect you, but it sure did blow my mind when I watched it. And so we're going to bring this up, and we're going to let you see it. And right in the beginning, there's a couple commercials, couple ads that jump up. We'll blow them away and move on with it. But here it is. It's all about Elon. Is it that how you say it? Elon,
I believe, isn't it?
Elon Musk and his brain thingy. That's what I'll call it. His brain thingy. So bear with me, and here we go. Let me make sure I get this right. All right. And don't you know it? Espinal blows it up right from right from the get-go. That's not the right one. Let me
Actually, that goes along with what we're talking about.
Yeah, it does really.
Yeah. Let me get this thing. Espinal, you are such a klutz sometimes.
I mean, that's pretty scary stuff. I didn't know about that. Mercedes is doing a car that connects with the driver. It's just like
one day you could have superhuman vision.
Yeah, crazy.
It's this whole thing is scary. Let me go back here again. Try this one more time. Bear with me, folks. You know how I am with this crazy thing. Okay. Share audio. Let's see if this works.
Protects all of us. Our resilience as a community is strengthened at times like this. We will provide security and understanding. County Bank. We have roots here, not just branches. Member FDIC.
Play your favorite albums in your head and download your brain to a computer or even to another body.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Though this may sound like an episode of your favorite science fiction show, Elon Musk and his team at the neural tech startup Neuralink believe that their electronic brain-computer interfaces could make this possible. Described as Fitbit in your skull with tiny wires.
A Fitbit in your skull with tiny wires.
The small, easy-to-install brain-computer interface could be used to expand the capabilities of humans, changing the way we interact with technology and treat neural and mobility issues. Yet the goals of the company speaks to a potential problem in the future: artificial intelligence. Musk has been very vocal about his fear of artificial intelligence, believing AI could one day overshadow the human race. Musk's inevitable transhumanist goal of augmenting intelligence and abilities may be necessary if we are to compete with advanced artificial intelligence. However, Neuralink's team still has a long way to go before the emergence of AI-human hybrids. The tech company still has a lot of bureaucratic, ethical, and technological hurdles to cross. If Musk's companies accomplish half of what they claim, we could see the emergence of one of the most significant technologies in human history. But how does it work? Simply put, Neuralink is a technology that can help humans interact with machines using their brains. The company's eventual aim is to further develop brain-computer interfaces to the point where one can be installed in a doctor's office. Let's say you opted in to go in for a Neuralink procedure. What would that look like? Neuralink wants to make the installation of your brain-computer interface painless and quick, as easy as LASIK surgery. The design has changed significantly and now resembles a small coin around 8 millimeters in diameter, which houses electrodes that are about 1/20th the thickness of a strand of hair. To install the Neuralink, a tiny piece of skull is removed and the Neuralink is slotted in to sit flush with the skull. Since this process needs to be extremely precise, the Neuralink team has created a robot specifically for this procedure. The entire process could take less than an hour while you are under partial anesthesia. Installing the device will only leave a tiny scar and include all the sensors one would expect in a smartwatch. Once installed, the device will be able to send and receive electrical signals through your brain and use these to control machines. In its early stages, it could allow control of basic devices like a computer and other smart devices. But how? Your brain sends information to different parts of your body using neurons. Neurons in your brain connect with each other to form a network and communicate using chemical signals called neurotransmitters. This reaction generates an electric field. By placing electrodes nearby, you can record these reactions. The electrodes translate these signals into an algorithm that a computer can read. Down the road, Elon Musk claims that the device could be used to operate robots. cure paralysis, treat mental illness, to stream music directly into the wearer's brain, and extend the range of hearing beyond normal frequencies. Just like Neo in The Matrix, you would be able to download skills into your brain. You could even possibly summon your Tesla telepathically. In 2020, Neuralink demonstrated the device installation in a pig. The wildly anticipated demo showed that a living animal can function normally after having one implanted and then removed. Musk has announced that Neuralink received breakthrough device designation from the FDA in July 2020. This is a major step towards eventually mass-producing Neuralink devices. Who knows? Maybe Neuralink will allow us to achieve a symbiosis with artificial intelligence. Would you get a Neuralink implant?
Wow. Dr. Lieberman, I am I'm going to let you take off with this thing. So you go ahead.
That was an amazing video. It really explains things very well in a short amount of time. But let me tell you some more about this. First of all, I watched Elon Musk's demonstration. It was just recently. He did it was his big reveal. And it started out with him talking about this Brainship and it's all its advantages and so on. And then it went into his demonstration with the pigs, 3 little pigs. And then there was a question and answer, not just with him, but with the people on his team. And he said at the very beginning that the purpose of his doing this big reveal was to recruit people to join Neuralink. Because he said they have about 100 people now and they want thousands to join Neuralink because that's how many they'll need to, continue to increase its capacity and fix all the problems and so on, all the things that they need to do to make this work. So for me, the highlight of the reveal was the pig who had the Brainship implanted was named Gertrude. And the big reveal was that when Gertrude touched something, food or the ground or something with her snout, that it would make a blip on the chip, and you could hear the noise, of it, and you could see on the screen this little blip. Well, Gertrude was camera shy, apparently, and she did not want to come out from her pen. And Elon, you could just tell he was dying there. That led up to this big moment about halfway through his presentation. And he, here comes the pig, and she wouldn't come out. It was really funny. And then when she did come out, and just all you saw was that that when she touched something with her snout, it made a blip, like big deal. But he was trying to show that it worked, I guess. But what's really interesting, also to me, I was enjoying that because I was seeing him cringe, and I know what that must have felt like. But what really interests me as a psychiatrist in terms of, this whole idea, I think, let me just say from the beginning, I think this whole idea is really scary and preposterous, that we are going to lose our humanity and be in exchange for being able to play music in our brain. That's what we have ears for. But in any case, what's interesting is that I've never met Elon Musk, and I'm not his psychiatrist, but I think that his real unconscious motivation, or perhaps conscious motivation for this chip, is to fix depression. And because he has, again, in my opinion, without having actually examined him directly, one-on-one, I think that he's bipolar. And he, inasmuch admitted that, he had written a tweet in 2017 saying something about the highs and the lows and the stress. And then when he was asked in an interview right after that if he thought he could be bipolar, he said, well, yes, maybe. He essentially admitted it, and then he backpedaled. And he said, well, maybe not from a medical point of view. And I think, if you look at his personal life and his volatility and things from his childhood and his brilliant creativity, if he's not severely, if he has bipolar illness, it is not in a very severe form, so that he's able to use the creativity in the manic phase to come up with things like Tesla and SpaceX. But he promotes this as something to help the brain and help paralysis, help physical kinds of things. And then he mentions, kind of as a side note, that yes, it can help depression and anxiety and addiction, emotional kinds of things. That's sort of that's his second line of what he tells you about it. But I think that is for him his real motivation.
Wow. When I was reading about this afternoon, I was thinking, when I was growing up, science fiction was science fiction. You'd have the mad scientists in the lab, and all these other things, and people flying through space, and then as I look back on my life, a lot of that sci-fi stuff became reality.
Yeah.
Just like now, you're in California, Ed's in Ohio, I'm here in Delaware. Just like this technology,
Yeah.
I mean, we never dreamed that anything would be like this. And when I was reading about this, I was thinking, my goodness gracious, people are trying to develop this. They're working on it. They're using animals as tests and so on and so forth. I wonder what else is going on behind the scenes that we don't know anything about. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said this stuff is spooky. It's scary. What is your opinion of how people are? Perhaps tonight's the first time they've ever seen anything like this or heard anything.
Mm-hmm.
But what's your perspective on this thing and how it will affect the population? I mean, will they just blow it off, or?
Well, we are getting used to the idea, and some people say that this is sort of a conspiracy, that to get us used to combining AI with our bodies in some way. In other words, before the drastic step of putting it in our brains. But like for the Fitbit, for example, he uses that as an example of technology, wearing technology and being able to tell certain things. There are other examples in medicine, not as drastic as implanting something in your brain. I mean, needless to say, so much could go wrong with this. I don't think it's going to be around tomorrow, but his fear, and this I think is paranoia that goes along with bipolar disorder. He unless he knows a lot more than we do about this, which he probably does, but he's afraid that artificial intelligence is going to take over humans within the next 5 years. So that was his rationale for why we need to compete with them so that they can't take over our world, why we need to get some of these qualities that artificial intelligence does. But, there are so many things that can go wrong, from brain surgery. It is still brain surgery. The chip itself is within the skull or right under the skull, but the filaments, the threads that the robot puts inside our brain, the reason why it's a robot is because the robot visualizes our brain and then is supposed to put these filaments in a way that doesn't cross a blood vessel or hit another part of our brain that would, paralyze us or do something else horrible. So that's one problem with it. Another problem is that just like computers can be hacked and cars can be hacked and ATMs can be hacked, if we are connected to a computer, like he talks about connecting us to an iPhone, for example, we can be hacked.
Right.
So that's what happened to me a long time ago. I was hacked.
That explains it.
That explains the whole thing. Edward, go ahead, buddy.
I'm gonna get back to this real quick, but just to go back, obviously, there seems to be something going on in the country that it's not. I would say it's not normal. Can you help explain the abnormal culture we have right now?
Well, where do I start? Maybe I've had a brainship.
Yeah. Elon, are you listening?
Yeah, right. Well, we are overwhelmed with so much chaos. And, starting with, if things were going relatively fine before coronavirus came, and that's a whole other story, how coronavirus came, when it came, and why it came, and it really is beginning to seem, or not beginning, but it's seeming more and more like this was a planned kind of attack. We have a virologist, I'm sure you know this already, that a new virologist just came out, a woman, and said that who was a doctor in Wuhan, and or a researcher who said that yes, indeed, it was manufactured by the Wuhan lab. There have been other people before her coming out and saying that as well. So, I think people who don't want to believe that, it's hard to believe that, because we have thought of China in a more, and we're not talking about the Chinese people, we're talking about the communists, the government.
Right.
But so it's hard for people to think that, we're focused on radical Islamists, which we should be, but we haven't thought also that yes, indeed, the Chinese could be cooking something up to try to attack us and to take over the world.
Yeah. So, with respect to all of this going on, can you explain, as a psychiatrist, right, what is going, when football players have on their helmets the name of, these guys that, fell at the hands of cops, that before they were shot and killed by the cop in self-defense, many cases, these guys had, a nice, long, despicable criminal history. Can you explain why, when these NFL players and NBA players are wearing these names on their jerseys or on their helmet, or T-shirts, can you explain how that could actually make things worse?
Yes, well, I think we just have begun seeing the backlash, because at a recent game, the fans booed. The whoever was in there at the stadium, people don't. I've been thinking about this. I've been so appalled by this for a long time. When Kaepernick started the whole thing, it's just been sickening. That is not why people pay money or go to see or even watch on the internet football games or other kinds of sports. It's not to be preached to in terms of politics. And it's so ironic, these people who, they're making millions and millions of dollars, the players, and how they can show this hatred and rebelliousness and towards the American flag and towards the national anthem, when meanwhile they're living the life of Riley. They're enjoying all these millions of dollars thanks to America.
Right. Yeah, that's quite a huge irony. What do you think is the, so in other words, does it create a mentality that that the next person tries to overdo or outdo the person before? Because once you do this, you become a martyr.
Well, yes, just today I've been kind of putting this together as far as like there is a phenomenon before today. There is a phenomenon that I think people know about called suicide by cop. And that is when someone wants to kill themselves and they're feeling very depressed and they want to kill themselves. Their life seems hopeless and so on. But either they don't have the means to do it in the way that they want, like a gun, or they're too afraid to actually do it, afraid of the pain or afraid of, whatever. They call 911 and have a cop come. And this has been going on for a number of years. And they have somebody else call the cops, or they instigate something where someone calls 911. And then the cops come, and if they act like they are going to attack the cop. Now, again, this is before what the riots that have been going on now. I'm not talking about that because now it's a different thing. But before George Floyd, let's say. So this was a kind of way that, or sometimes also people would walk into the police station and would, scream and act crazy. And the idea would be to get the cops to shoot them and kill them. Okay, well, now we have the next 2.0 of this phenomenon. And that is that people are seeing that people who are getting killed, not necessarily because of looking for suicide by cop, but people who are, in different circumstances where they're getting killed because the cops feel threatened, and again, not George Floyd, that was murder, and I do not in any way think that was okay. But there are many situations where the cops really do feel as though their life is in danger and they are justified in shooting or, having a certain amount of force. So then these people realize that if you are one of the people killed in this way, then you get to have the next day or the same night, you get to have protests, and everybody's carrying signs and saying your name and yes, on the helmets or the t-shirts or whatever, and you are a celebrity. And so it is now a new twist to suicide by cop, whereby people who want this, who want to commit suicide and who want this celebrityhood, want to go out in flames, they realize that if they, do something that makes the policeman feel threatened and they will shoot you, that now they're going to get a whole parade in their honor.
Well, and this is where I'm going. This is kind of where I'm headed. The Bible goes from, the chaos of the Old Testament that, the Jewish people and the rest of the world, for that matter, realize there's a need for a savior, that nothing you can do is going to please God because sin needs to be conquered. So Jesus conquers sin. Well, it seems to me that this, far as I think now it's beyond conspiracy theory. I think it's pretty easy to see that these protests are not, just, coming out of the blue. They're pre-planned. And so this chaos that we all know, different billionaires that are behind it, this chaos seems to almost force you, and I think the masks are preparation for it, to need a savior, and of course their new savior is, which is kind of goes to the, book of Revelation, So here you have competing theories here, in the government schools that house 88% of the population in our schools, and they get to take God away and say, it's their certain political party, and it's a certain, this secular humanism that's going to save you, and the technology, and it kind of circles back to Elon Musk implanting this brain chip. We need the savior. It's no longer the savior Jesus Christ. We're pushing him out. The savior is what man can offer you, and so I know it's spooky, but don't listen to those people. Just put it in your head. Just get that surgery, get that plan in there. It's for your own good. You need that. You need that. You know, the vaccine. You need that mask to wear that no doctor would ever wear all day. That we've had a doctor on this very show with his 8 million views that has said, you know, masks are for surgery, and we don't even think they work during surgery, and we certainly wouldn't wear them outside of the surgery. And besides, you know, if you're not a professional, you don't even know how to use the mask, and you don't have the right mask anyway. And so, do you think all this is tied together? And do you think that there's any validity to the fact that this chaos is purposely being perpetrated?
Well, you know, there's the thing is, there are so many people with agendas that, and yes, you know, the main agenda is trying to take over the world, whatever that means for that particular person. My cats, I don't know if you can see my cats in the background, but they're trying to take over the world during this show, so don't mind them. But, you know, something else connected to that is that during this whole lockdown, where it's not PC to say that the protests and riots and looters and all that are spreading COVID because they're not wearing masks, or not all of them are wearing masks, and they're certainly not 6 feet apart and so on. That's not supposed to say anything about that. But at the same time, they're not allowing us to have practice religion in churches or synagogues, or, you know, because you're going to spread COVID.
Right.
I mean, that is a very dangerous thing, that we are not being allowed to practice our religion in groups. I mean, yes, of course, God is everywhere, or whatever you believe in, the universe, the spirit, whatever, is everywhere. You don't need to be in synagogue or church or a mosque. But there's certainly something that you get from that you can't get alone. You know, certainly the support, the social support, the feeling that we're all together. There's just so much, and the singing and the, you know, and that, I think that's having a very dangerous impact on us. You know, we're talking about people going crazy, or what's happening to people's minds. I think not being allowed to practice their religion is a big part of this, and a part of making us think that, you know, chips in the brain are going to be our savior.
Right. Yeah. Dr. Frank Harbor, we've had on here, and he just had a sermon that tagged George in, and he's talking about this. The new atheism isn't just, you know, hey, let's have a debate. It's militant atheism. We want to destroy Christianity, and I think that's what you're seeing with these two. Not just two, but these Weather Underground funded by a different name, the Black Lives Matter organization, not the movement, but the organization, as well as the Antifa, and of course they're all funded by a group called Open Secrets, and another organization, Code Blue or something like that. But the point is, though, that, you know, this stuff is being orchestrated, and Soros is banned in other countries. It's not just Soros, other billionaires as well. Hathaway founder, Berkshire Hathaway, I can never remember his name, that runs that. His wife helps fund all this stuff too, behind the scenes under different names. And so, and this isn't, you know, it's public record. It's not like you can't find this stuff out. And, you know, these guys don't hide it. And yet there's, you know, you're just starting to see trickled stories about it, and they post it on their website. It's not like it's hidden stuff.
Yes.
So the media seems to be afraid to go after this. That is, unless you're alternative media, who they try to silence, you know. And so it's just, this is spooky times. I mean, anytime you have a video that disagrees with anything that Google wants to put out, or Facebook wants to put out, or Twitter, anytime you get a video that disagrees with the agenda, they take it right back off. I mean, I've had several videos taken off, and they were doctors. These weren't not credible people. These are doctors, professionals, you know, medical doctors, professors. How do you take them off? How do you say they're not credible? I don't understand. Who gives them the right to do that?
Well, yes, that actually is one of the most dangerous things that's happening now. All of the people who control, you know, the giants, the tech giants, who are deciding for all of us what is right and what's wrong, and what we should believe in and what we shouldn't believe in. I know that is very scary. And you mentioned doctors. A couple of months ago, there was a press conference in front of I think it was in front of the Congress, in front of the Capitol, of doctors who were talking about hydroxychloroquine.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How they actually used that drug with their patients and
Yep.
saw, good results. And they're not the only ones. That lots of, doctors who are not in a state where their license has been threatened by the board or by a pharmacist. Since when do pharmacists know more than doctors when it comes to treating specific illnesses? Not to put down pharmacists, but really it's the doctors who write the prescriptions that the pharmacists are supposed to fill. And
Right.
So doctors have been threatened. And a lot of doctors are afraid. They're not willing to risk losing their license for this. But many doctors have used it and have had great results. And yet Twitter and the various tech giants decided that they're not going to show this. I mean, it's how is this different than China or Russia?
There you go. Exactly right.
Dr. Lieberman, this brain chip, I was sitting there thinking this afternoon, throughout history, man has tried to make a superior race, such as Hitler, where he had his reproduction camps, where he wanted to make light-haired, blue-eyed, strong people, the superior race.
Uh-huh.
This implanting a brain chip, and I couldn't help but think as I was sitting here, where the man said it might be possible for the music to be piped right into your brain. And I'm thinking, whoa, Jack, back up here a minute. I see people walking around everywhere, outside, inside, over there,
Yeah.
with the dooflickies in their head.
Yeah.
And it's getting pumped straight into their brain through the ear holes. And they don't know what's going on around them anyhow. You try to talk to them and they're like, they're fast. And I'm thinking.
Wait, George, did you just say you're thinking?
Oh yeah, I'm thinking.
Good.
My I'll stay with my 1/2 brain cell that I have left as compared to this thing here, this brain chip. And I'm wondering, with everything that's going on and past history, I'm just wondering, this is probably, and I know nothing about it other than what I've seen and what I've read. This is probably another one of those things where the person or the people can be controlled. He can say, here's what I want to do with it,
Yes.
make people more mobilized that has some spinal discord and so on and so forth and this and that. And I'm not saying that wouldn't be good, but there's always this underlying thing that people have, like the mad scientists in the laboratory working, on something evil.
Yes.
So this brain chip thing, it seems to me that it's just another way of man trying to control man.
Yes. Yes. Actually, that was an interesting part of his reveal demo, that somebody asked a question, could this be used for telepathy? And then he said, yes, but it would have to be consensual telepathy. Well, why would it have to be? That would be the ethical way, of course, if you agreed to let somebody into your brain. But it doesn't mean that people couldn't get into your brain. And you're right that they could. It's just like, when we're afraid. There are certainly conspiracy theories, and I think that there could be something to this. The idea of with vaccines and chips in vaccines, and us being, if not controlled, then certainly located through the chips and so on. This is taking it, the Brainship, Elon Musk's Brainship is taking it to another level. And yes, like I was talking about it being hacked, it could be done hacked on purpose to make us do whatever.
Yeah. And so we become like robots, like some of the sci-fi movies that people have seen, and all of a sudden there you are. It's in reality. I was thinking about just that word chip, and I've read so much over the past several years that they've developed that chip that they'll put in the web of your hand, where and I've seen demonstrations where you just put your hand up there to the little gizmo, and you gain access to your employment. Or they showed where they walk over to the snack machine and just hold that little web part of your hand up there, and it allows you to buy things and so on. And there are people, from what I understand, maybe you know more, a whole lot more, that already have this chip that they've been experimenting with. So this chip thing seems to be moving right along, doesn't it?
Well, people who like the idea of doing things more quickly. I know when you think about why people are allowing themselves to have this done, it does baffle the mind. Some people are just kind of want to be first in their class to, have, just like with other kinds of tech products, you have to have the newest iPhone. It's that kind of mentality to be the coolest kid on the block. But I keep thinking of, what was that movie with the pod people? Not Revenge. Where the pods land on Earth and the Body Snatchers.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? The original Body Snatchers,
Yep.
where the pods open up and they replace the person, and the person, humans, had feelings. Like us, like now. And then the pod people replace them, and they're like robots. And it's kind of like it's coming true.
I was thinking about that where it could be used to change people's moods, bring them out of depressions and anxieties and so on and so forth. And when you mentioned the Body Snatchers, because we have feelings, because we have those emotions, if somebody could control our emotions and make us emotionless, like on the Body Snatchers, you trade one for this, that is just downright scary to think. And you're absolutely right, man. I want to be the first kid on the block to get the new thing.
Well, as you guys know, there's a lot of people that are on these psychotic drugs. At some point your body's going to get addicted to them. You don't think somebody that would be willing to take drugs that that are very dangerous and replace it with a chip? It doesn't seem that far-fetched.
That's right.
Yeah, remember in the Body Snatchers, how somebody who they were some people, I think it was a couple who was trying to escape, and they've almost escaped. And then I think a cat. Do you remember this? A cat went across the road or something, or a dog, and they got run over. And the person, like shrieked or got upset. It wasn't even a big emotion, but then everybody around them, who were the pod people, realized that they were humans.
Hey, George. Sorry, Dave McCurdy's got a comment. I think you should post that.
Oh,
and maybe we can comment about that.
Can you see that, Dr. Lieberman?
Yes, I'm getting. Yes. People don't know. Most people don't know that the three women who founded Black Lives Matter really have radical ties, wanting to take over the world, America at least. This family who I treat, the little girl, let's see, she just turned 13. She was talking about how she gave her allowance to Black Lives Matter. Now, it was a rather, for a moment, I had to think of how to handle this. Like I was, I didn't want to discourage her from donating to good causes, but so I just explained to her, racism is bad, and that's generous of you or kind of you to want to do something to help stop racism, but you should look into what Black Lives Matter, the origins of it, and that really isn't an organization that you would want to be donating to. If there are other better organizations that help people help racism or help people who are poor, that you could donate to, and do some homework and look into what really is behind Black Lives Matter.
I was wondering, and I think I mentioned it earlier, and we talked before we went on the air, I categorize people. Certain people, they'll stick their head in the sand, and I don't want to see anything. I don't want to hear anything. Other people, they'll lollygag around. They'll see things, but big denial going on in their heads, and other people. Do you find that, to me, and I'll let you do your own analysis, but to me, that's dangerous. That's dangerous. Somebody could get hurt. Somebody could get killed. How do you feel about those type of things?
Well, yes, that is why that is a contributing factor, big contributing factor to how people are letting these kinds of things go on that are going on. The most recent thing that I am still very depressed about, we just had the 19th anniversary of 9/11. And the New York Times did nothing on it. The New York Times, of all, media outlets.
Right.
And other media outlets did very little. Some did nothing. Some did most. There was no one that the New York Post is about the strongest on these kinds of things. But
yeah.
But the idea of, we said never forget, but in fact, people are putting their heads in the sand and are denying it and want to just get over it. That was something, but it's understandable that, like, whenever we have, personally, when you have something in your life, something in your childhood, a parent dies, or, you were bullied in school, or even something more recent, like getting fired from a job. When you have bad things happen to you, the mind, as a protective mechanism, allows you to push this bad thing into your unconscious mind. It still stays with you. It's a memory, but you have to have something to trigger it to get it out of your unconscious. But on something like 9/11, it's not a matter of one person having one bad incident happen. It is, as a country, I think that is the most important event that has happened to us as a country. And it is the most important thing to remember because, first of all, terrorists have not gone away. We're all paying attention to coronavirus and Elon Musk and the elections and all of that. Yeah. But I can assure you that terrorists are still paying attention to us, and they have not changed their mind about wanting to take over the West.
Right.
So we need to remember that, because we can't let our guard down. They're already taking advantage of us letting our guard down, and recruiting more people, because more people are on the internet and coming across terrorist propaganda. But the other thing is, when you compare the heroes of 9/11, the people on Flight 93 or the first responders, people who have given their life are still dying. It's not just the 3,000 people from the day of 9/11. People have been dying because of being at ground zero, trying to help other people. And, that's another thing with this defund the police, which is the craziest idea ever. Not only is it crazy in terms of what happens when you need someone because you're being attacked in an alley or something like that, or a woman is being raped, or or you're having a heart attack and you call 911. But in addition to that, what happens when there's the next terror attack and there are no police to protect us?
Yeah. I was thinking about this brain chip again. That with the movement and the radicals wanting to tear down the statues, take this out of our history, destroy this, destroy that, implanting a brain chip, and they're talking about all the good things that could come out of it. If that would develop the way that they want to develop it, who says that they wouldn't even take the time to take away your memory?
Yes, that's a good point. And yes, actually, that was one of the questions that was brought up during Elon Musk's reveal. Could memories be taken out and put in? Not only could they take out memories of our history and so on, but they could put in memories to just change who it is that we look up to, what big brother we're going to look up to.
Yeah. That in and of itself is quite scary. Wow. Let's touch on this a few minutes before we go home tonight. The two deputy sheriffs that were ambushed in Los Angeles. I believe it was Saturday night or Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, sometime on Saturday. I'm sure we've all seen the videos of the shooter going right up to the cruiser and pumping off the rounds and then beating feet down the street.
Yeah.
As far as I know, they haven't found this person yet.
They're offering $100,000. So somebody will turn him in.
$100,000. Two sheriff deputies fighting for their lives, a man and a woman. They was just sitting in the cruiser. Somebody put this hit on them, and then almost immediately, and this is what I found really, really strange. Almost immediately, a crowd gathers at the hospital, and they block the entrance to the emergency room. I mean, that quick. And then they chant, "I hope you die, I hope you die," or something along those lines. "I hope you die." Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, the world has completely gone insane.
Yeah.
I don't even know what would make an individual do that. What was your reaction, and how do you feel about it today, being Monday?
Well, every day there is a new piece of news of a loss of humanity that is more shocking than the day before. You kind of think, oh, wow, that is so over the top. Nothing like that has ever happened or would happen again. And then the next day, you find something that is even more outrageous and inhumane than what happened the day before.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't bad enough that this guy came up and shot these deputies who were doing nothing, just sitting in their car. But then to, like, as you say, just suddenly gather. And of course that leads one to believe that this was either planned, that there was a whole bunch of people who knew that this was going to happen. I mean, you kind of wonder how they knew which hospital they were going to go to. But it's not hard to put it on the internet or it doesn't take long to get your crowds, get your people in your radical group to go there. And so not only did he shoot them, but for everybody to be saying, "I hope they die." I mean, we're not human anymore. I mean, with a chip or without, we've lost our humanity. That is the scariest. And, people are threatening with the election, regardless, which is going to be another whole disaster, regardless of who it's. I mean, I don't know how they're going to be able to tell who won at the beginning, who they think won at the beginning, because how you do this by mail, I mean, there's no way to tell that this is going to be accurate. But whoever is said to be the winner at the very beginning, there are going to be more riots all over the place. I mean, they're already spreading that news out there. We're going to riot after the election.
Yeah, they've already got. They already have permits for the protest, which is really riots. Yeah, amen. That's what I was talking about earlier in the pre-show about this. Is this just, I mean, I know there's medical terms for this, but I'm just going to call it, as Dave has mentioned, pure evil. I think the problem is because younger generations have the entitlement, wear their hearts on their sleeves. I'm going to say the younger generation are just way too fatherless. I think you're Antifa. You have a lot of kids that don't get a lot of attention at home. Well, I think they're probably from the wealthier areas around. And then you have the opposite, people that are just, that also don't have a whole lot of direction at home because mom is probably working single parent homes and their interactions with the kid are limited. And so I think that's got a lot to do with what goes on coming from a single parent home. You just miss out on a lot. And in particular, if you live in the wrong neighborhoods, you add to that who becomes your father figures or your role models. It's just this is no surprise. And then what they learn in the government schools about, they're just an accident, and what's implied is they're inferior. There's we are more and more evolved, and of course, who's inferred to be the most evolved? Well, it's not mostly the people that are in these schools. You're basically telling people feel bad about yourself and blame the people that look like this, in particular if they have an R next to their name. Really take after them.
Yeah. We live in troubling times, and Dr. Lieberman, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I hope we're wrong, but I agree with you that these past 6-7 months have been awful, and they have left people absolutely devastated, some financially, mentally, physically, the whole 9 yards. But I really don't think we have seen what's coming down the pike that's just around the corner. I'm usually a very optimistic person, but as the man once said, I calls them like I sees them, where you can see that trouble is stacked on top of trouble, on top of trouble, on top of trouble, and it just doesn't seem like there's any way we can avert the damage that's been done or the damage that's coming. Wow, it's just mind-boggling. This, ladies and gentlemen, this brain implant that Elon Musk is heartily working on. I do give the man credit from a layperson like me when it comes to his space projects and his automobiles and all these things. The man's a genius.
Fourth richest man in the world.
Yeah, he's a genius. And then to want to come up with something like this, it's but I agree, Dr. Lieberman, and you know those things a whole lot more than we do. Yeah, there's some things behind the scenes and undercurrent and so on and so forth. It would really like to get under the hood and see what really makes this man tick, and all those good things. Dr. Lieberman, we would love to have you come back again next month because you're just so full of information and logic. That's something that's missing nowadays. Somebody that has some logic
and not politically correct.
Yeah, well, not politically correct, but it's logical. It's logical. It is the way it is.
Right.
And we'd just love to have you come back again next month if you would.
Well, sure. Thank you. I mean, this is the first step. At least if people can start understanding and realizing that things aren't always as they seem, and looking behind that, then we're at least on a better footing.
Yes. I've always said that things don't always look like they appear, and but nonetheless, thank you for taking the time out. It has been a delight. we'll get in touch with you again.
Okay.
And we'll bring you back because I think the chapters are going to continue to be written. And we want you to come and help us analyze the chapters that are being written week after week and month after month. Thank you so very, very much.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, and countrymen, thank you for tuning in. Now do us a favor, get those watch parties started, get it into your news feed, push this thing out there, so more and more people can hear it and see it and understand what's taking place in this day and age in which we live. So whether you're down the street, around the corner, across America, or somewhere around this great big world, thank you one more time for taking the time to tune in and be with us. Do a couple things for us. Take care of one another. Be kind one to another. And please, don't ever be afraid to look at someone, look them dead in the eye and say, I love you. You know something? It could possibly save a life. It might be just what they needed to hear and feel at that particular time. So do that for us, do it for yourself, and do it for somebody else. Until then, I pray that God will keep you right in the center of his hand, and wherever you're at, have a good night, good day, good afternoon, whatever it might be, if it's today, or if you're already into tomorrow. We'll see you later. Good night, everybody.